obviously, if you can lower the cost of that and still maintain the services and fund your the administration, that would be great. But couldn't that also be considered that if a person has multiple vehicles, that there could be a discounted
A
rate?
discount because
for
most
multiple
people have a
vehicles?
car and they have a truck. Yeah, those are great
Yeah,
possibilities.
that's a good thought.
Right.
Yes,
I have
Don,
one
go
question
ahead.
for the
Yes.
candidate. You are a candidate, and your opponent is Susanna Mendoza. What distinguish you from her, and why would you make a better clerk of the city clerk?
Well, I
than
like to
your
say,
opponent.
I would like to say is that, with no disrespect to my opponent, but my opponent is a state representative, and she has been, through the past few years, have been trying to implement legislation that, in my opinion, hurts people.
Such as?
She had one piece of legislation that she introduced to try our kids as adults. I don't think that's fair. And another one with the DNA testing upon arrest. The police can swab your mouth and take your DNA. I don't think I want anyone in my mouth. And so a lot of times, a lot of us, we have false arrests and so forth, and I don't think that's fair. And you know how we used to be when we were in high school or in grammar school, and we take and ball our fist up and do one eye to the other, which means we're going to get you after school. She wants to have something like that introduced as a felony. And most of us will be felons by the time we graduate from high school. So when you talk about someone who is a city clerk, someone who wants to be engaged with the people, someone like me who wants to do town hall meetings and get the people to come to the city and get their services and to be treated with respect, then it doesn't fit the bill for me. And another thing is that there has been question about double dipping, because she's a state rep and she worked for the city, but she took a leave in October just to come, and work to pursue this office. And there are so many people out there that need jobs. And I don't think that we should have someone who voted on increasing our taxes and then pursuing two pensions, which is not good.
I'm glad I'm glad I asked that question, though, because
Well,
Well,
Very interesting.
only because you asked.
Well, I don't know if Ms. Mendoza is going to call in, but she did say that she was actually going to come to the studio at least last Saturday, but I don't know, but maybe she'll come on a
Well,
later date and
I will say this
defend
about
her
Ms.
position.
Mendoza, is that she said that what she would do is that she would put advertisement on the back of the vehicle sticker as for bringing in extra revenues, but in my opinion, it's not low enough. $5 off your vehicle sticker is not going to engage people to want to register their vehicles here.
see.
And if you're in a high rise for over 30 days, you should be purchasing a vehicle sticker.
Okay.
So
All right, well,
that's
let's
it.
see if any of our callers have any questions or comments. I don't know, they've been holding for a while, so we will go with the one who's been holding the longest. Callers, I will say that we are very short on time because we do have Senator Carol Mosley Braun calling in shortly. At least she's got caught up in church. Hold on. Mansong, welcome, my brother.
Hey, hotep to all of y'all.
Hotep.
peace.
Hey, I had a piece that I wanted to mention about Egypt, very quickly. A lot of people don't understand that there's a larger dimension to that conflict. You have class struggle, Attorney Borges, between the poor Arabs in the north and the rich ones like Mubarak, the dictator. But you also have a national struggle. In other words, there's an oppressed nationality. Their name is the Nubians, the Africans that look like you and me. I was in Egypt back in 2006 with the Dessert Club out of Philadelphia. We took 300 black folks from 5 different cities, 80 youth, and they've been doing that yearly for about 15 years now. And so we spent time in the south part of Egypt, and that is the owners, the original owners of the land. So the Arabs are really invaders and imposters, but they have a class struggle. But they also, I'm just wondering what's going to happen to the Nubian people, who the Arabs, oppress and dominate. So I just wanted to put that out there.
Okay. All right, thanks,
those
brother.
North Africans were overran by Persians and Greeks, and hence their lighter hue. those are not Arabs. They are Muslims, but they're not necessarily Arabs. And I think it's a misnomer to refer to that as a Middle Eastern state rather than a Northern African state. And so you can look to the Greeks and to the Persians for that change, and not so much as the Arabs.
Well, Alexander the Great, who was
absolutely.
the Macedonian /
Took
Greek,
over the
came over
museum.
Egypt. And,
Yeah.
Well, he's what? Who was it? Cleopatra was actually a Macedonian.
Right.
And that whole Ptolemy family
Yeah.
were Macedonians, not Egyptians.
All the Greek
And
information was
Alexandria.
taken from Alexandria.
Alexander,
right.
named
Right.
after Alexander the Great.
Right.
And his general was Ptolemy, whose I think seventh generation was Cleopatra. But anyway, a nice comment, and we are short on time. Mama T, couple of minutes. Mama T, your radio's on in the background. Tommy, good morning, Tommy.
Well, first of all, good morning to all of you guys, and especially
morning.
to Commissioner Horton. I've had the opportunity to speak with you on different occasions where I would meet you out about town, so I can say that you are a person of the people because you don't just stay in one place, you do go about town. Very quickly, I find it interesting that in years past that we paid less and had more services out of the city, and now we pay more and have less services out of the city. And I also find it interesting that people decided that the thing to do was not to say anything and to go along with speed bumps, plant terrariums, and cul-de-sacs in their neighborhood, making it very difficult for their streets to be plowed. And to this day, there are still streets on the south and west sides that have not been plowed, cars in the middle of the street. And so I just find it very interesting that when you start talking about the city and the representation, how all I saw there was a bunch of white folks. I didn't see this so-called diversity of the city and ethnicity who's supposed to be running things. And I leave you with this. I don't care what happens in Egypt because you know what? That's those people's business. And anytime this country would support a guy who's a dictator and do all that kind of nonsense that he's doing to the people, why do you think anybody in this world should listen to the United States? Last thing is simply this. Don't you find it interesting? The state will give probation to a criminal. The state will give a drunk driver who uses a car as a missile. And yet for a person, a father who can legitimately not pay his child support, they can get absolutely nothing. That's outrageous. Bless you all, guys.
Okay, thanks, Tommy.
Wow. Thank you, Tommy.
All right. Well, folks, my monitor here tells me that the good Senator Carol Mosley Braun is on the line, so we're going to bring her on.
All right.
Good morning, Senator.
Good morning.
How are
Good
you?
morning, Senator.
Ambassador.
Good
Senator.
morning.
Good morning.
Fine.
How are you?
I'm doing great. It's a great day.
Yeah, well, thanks for calling in. And,
Yeah, my pleasure. I'm afraid I had the wrong number at first.
Yeah,
You're at the right
I
place.
think you called in on the other line. Yeah, I think you, so. We're happy to hear from you.
Yeah.
And as you hear, we have Commissioner Patricia Horton on the line. I'm sure
Hello
you two
there.
know each other.
Hi, how are you?
Yes. Oh,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
I've been trying, we're both on the campaign trail, and I wasn't able to reach out to you individually, but I hope everybody told you that I endorsed you the other day.
And thank you. I really appreciate it. God is so good.
Okay.
Yes.
So you're out hitting the churches today,
Yes.
Senator? Okay. Well, I know you're busy, and then everybody's getting ready for the Super Bowl later this afternoon. Well, the races, the election sure is coming up on February 22nd. They've got early voting, and we want everybody to come out and vote, certainly. And as we know, some don't candidate in the mayoral candidates, and I imagine it goes for city clerk too. You got to have 50+1 to win first time out. Otherwise, there's going to be a runoff. So we want people to come out and vote, whomever your candidate may be. Gentlemen, you have questions for the
Yeah,
Senator?
good morning.
Good morning.
I just wanted to,
The other, I don't know if you know who the other co-hosts are, Senator, but Don Rashid and Mark Wallace. And you know Don, you certainly know Don.
I do.
And you may know,
She
Mark.
she knows me as
you
well.
also?
Yeah,
Okay.
she
Yes.
knows me as
All
well.
right.
Yeah.
But I wanted to ask you, Senator, there's been this great conversation and all of the media press going on about the exchange between you and Patricia Van Pelt Watkins at the Trinity Church last week. And one of my concerns is, and my question to you is because there are people who have family members who have struggled with drug addiction, and have not been able to overcome that. I have two family members who have struggled with it for about 30 years, and I lost a sister to drugs in 1990. And I was particularly upset about that comment, and so I wanted to give you an opportunity to kind of explain what was going through your mind that you would make that sort of comment.
Well, to begin with, I've already said all I'm going to say about that issue, just so you know. I'm just not going to go there, as they say. But the second thing I would point out is that we all have. I mean, come on, I lost a brother as well. And so it was the context that did not get communicated. It was what I had been put through already that did not get communicated. And so it was a whole, it's just like anything else. You take a snippet. What's that line about, a blind man feeling an elephant? You take a snippet of a situation, and you can make anybody look really bad. And I'm really sorry I allowed myself to be portrayed in a negative way as insensitive or unfeeling or uncaring. But the fact is that my record has been very clear that not only do I understand these issues, but I actually have, caring enough to put forth proposals to deal with it, at least to provide some assistance to the families that are suffering from it. Our whole community suffers from drugs, as you know, not just in terms of the individual pain that's associated with having and the powerlessness and the brokenness that happens to families and individuals who get caught up in that stuff, but it also costs us because of the violence and the crime and all the other things that proceed from it. And so my view is that we have to do something on both sides of the equation with regard to making sure they're doing what we can to keep people from falling into that trap of drug abuse, and also once they do, then providing the kind of support that government can provide, having to do with treatment, interventions, mental health support, all of those things, which right now are being handled in a very fractured and disjointed way here in Chicago. So that really is what my perspective on it. And again, it was not a happy moment for me, but on any number of different levels. But at the same time, perhaps I like to think that some good can come out of even the worst situation, and maybe somebody will pay attention to the kind of approaches that have been recommended by people like Dr. Carl Bell and others in terms of intervention and support that's not just providing somebody with a job, but rather actually provides real service delivery for the families and for the individuals who get caught up with it.
Okay. All right, Senator, because we know it's a big problem, and we've had a young lady by the name of Jane Alexander who's written this book, The New Jim Crow, on our show, and certainly a lot of that is blown up too much, and it infects our neighborhood, and hopefully if you're in there, you know how to address this problem. Some of it has to do with the criminal justice system,
exactly,
and how we are just mass incarcerated on a massive scale, and it's just unfortunate, and it's hurting our community in so many ways.
Well, that's right, and let me just go there for a minute, if you don't mind, and that goes to the criminal justice system overall. The fact of the matter is that I, as a senator, as a state legislator, I was opposed to the death penalty, and tried to do everything I could to help people reintegrate into the society once they come out of the penitentiary. As a senator, I supported community policing, the violence against women, midnight basketball. They got folks out here to disinformation saying I supported 3 strikes and you're out and putting 13-year-olds in jail. Nothing could be further from the truth. And I guess being slightly infuriated about that, it's called, what's that online? You want to hide something from somebody, put in a book. I challenge people to go to the books. Check the record, and don't just sit up and try to, I think it's just a kind of a pathology that we will try to, blow up somebody who's trying to help, as opposed to those who have sat back and really caused a lot of the issues that our community faces.
Okay, Ambassador, this is Don Rashid. How are you?
Hey, Don, how you doing?
Well, Rahm Emanuel is not showing up at a lot of these forums, and what would you say to the voters, the people who are attempting to make a decision about who they will vote for in this election, and Rahm's or Mr. Emanuel's refusal to participate in a variety of these forums?
Well,